It's finally time to talk about crypto again. So, is Bitcoin finally pumping? Of course not. However, Ethereum is doing what Bitcoin should do, namely bouncing. This old thing that coins used to do. Remember a few years ago when coins went down and they used to bounce? That is what Bitcoin normally should do, but it's not doing it. This pathetic coin. Instead, Ethereum is taking the lead and is doing what Bitcoin should do. So let's have a look what this means. Why is Ethereum pumping? What does this mean for a crypto market? Will the crypto market follow? Will the altcoins follow? Are we going to have an altcoin season? So many questions. Let's get started. So friends, here we see Ethereum. Isn't that beautiful? Ethereum is bouncing. Ethereum is doing what Bitcoin apparently is not doing. And we zoom here into the one-day chart and we see that this is not such a bad bounce. Ethereum is leading the market. Of course, we know why. It's of course because of this proof of stake switch, that is going to happen in Ethereum. So of course, that is the reason. But of course, from a technical perspective, it is because we had a brutal drop in the market, an 82% correction almost. So of course, after an 82% correction, we expect some kind of bounce. And if we go into the past and see how Ethereum bounced in the past, in the last peak of 2018, we see that Ethereum fell 74%, okay? And then it bounced quite impressively. So if we use our good old Fibonacci levels, you can see, friends, that Ethereum went quite nicely back to the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level before it started going lower. Now, if this here is a bounce, and friends, we don't know if it is a bounce. It could be a bounce, but in theory, it could also go directly to new all-time highs. But if it is a bounce, then we can expect it to also go to the 0.618 Fibonacci level, at least to the 0.618, okay? And that would be here at 2,500. So we can expect some strong resistance here, but it can also go as high as the 0.702 Fibonacci level, because that is where also many times retracements happen. And then we could go lower, of course, but that will be seen when we are there. We can spot possible bearish divergences happening, and we can also take a look at Bitcoin and the stock market and try to estimate if this will be a bounce or the scenario that of course we are all hoping for, namely that it will go directly to new all-time highs from here, because this whole thing here could in theory have just been an expanded flat correction, okay? Higher high here, lower low here, and an expanded flat correction normally means that directly from the expanded flat we go directly into a bull run. Now, I'm not saying that this is what is going to happen, but keep in mind that this certainly is a possibility. However, only if of course the stock market performs. Now, the stock market is still not 100% sure if it should break out. I'm always looking at the Nasdaq. Why? Because Bitcoin is following the Nasdaq to a ridiculous degree. I mean, really to a ridiculous degree. The correlation is hilarious. So most of the time I'm looking at the Nasdaq, and the Nasdaq was in this long-term falling wedge structure. We have said many times that here, for example, the RSI is making a hidden bullish divergence. So lower lows in the price, higher lows in the RSI. I have said this I don't know how many times, and every time it has just kept creeping lower. But I have maintained that this falling wedge structure will be broken to the upside, and lo and behold, it is indeed breaking to the upside. But of course now there is some new kind of resistance forming here that we have to go through, and if it manages to go through here, then we will see nice pumps in the Nasdaq and consequently nice pumps in Bitcoin. Maybe even Bitcoin will pump, but Ethereum is leading the way, as we saw. So consequently, of course, ETH BTC is also rising. So the ratio of Ethereum to Bitcoin, and we see it is not so far away from very high levels. And we see that basically this is just purely based on Ethereum. Ethereum is gaining, is appreciating with regards to Bitcoin. If we would go now to the old Ethereum all-time high, I mean, nobody knows how high it will go, of course. I personally think it's unlikely that we go directly from here to new all-time highs. Okay, I think it is unlikely, but if we were to go here to that level, then friends, we would be almost at the flippening stage. So we would be at such a market cap. If we go to the market cap, we see that Ethereum has a bit less than half of the market cap. So if we say that ETH BTC goes from 0.68 to 0.15, this would be a bit more than twice as much. So this could mean that it would go directly to Bitcoin's market cap. However, keep in mind, friends, I think that this is an unlikely scenario. I still think that Ethereum normally cannot go to such levels if Bitcoin doesn't make a huge bounce or some kind of rally. And Bitcoin, talking about the devil, talking about the devil, what is Bitcoin doing meanwhile? Like, let's compare it with Bitcoin, okay? Let's compare it with Bitcoin. Like, what is Bitcoin doing, okay? And Bitcoin seems to be just bear flagging around. Like, look at this. Look at this pathetic stuff. It really looks like a bear flag right now. I mean, it's hilarious. After such a brutal drop, after such a long time of just going down, a 74% correction over a time span of more than half a year, and you would think that there would be kind of a strong reaction, right? Especially because we went below the moving average of 200 weeks. But no, friends, we are bear flagging, okay? So this is the same stuff that Bitcoin did here, okay? Bitcoin was bear flagging here, Bitcoin was bear flagging here, and you saw what happened every time when it was bear flagging. It was not so good for Bitcoin. Every time, So if we don't break out of this stupid bear flag, if we just maintain our position in this idiotic bear flag, friends, then I could really foresee Bitcoin not coming out here and then actually breaking down and going even lower. So we must, for God's sake, break out of this ridiculous bear flag. I mean, am I asking too much? I mean, look, we are not far away anymore. The resistance is at 23,000, okay? It's not so hard to get through this freaking resistance, Bitcoin. Do it already. Do it. And I actually don't understand it, because going to the dollar index, look at this, it's dumping like crazy. We have a huge red candle. So since a while now, I had been saying that the dollar index is just doing an insanely ridiculous bearish divergence. Look at this here, okay? So we have these higher peaks in the price, and we have this second peak in the RSI much lower than the first one. I mean, this is a quite brutal bearish divergence. So normally this will correct for a longer period of time, okay? It could really correct for quite a few weeks, even months, until we continue going upwards. If the dollar will continue to go upwards, we don't know yet, but looking at the current policy of the Fed, it seems so. However, we also know that inflation seems to be coming down. We said last time that the core CPI is actually coming down. We also said that commodities are super imploding. Look at copper, for example. Copper came down brutally. Crude oil is coming down brutally. So all these things that drive inflation, they are starting to fall. They are coming down sharply, okay? So it is only a matter of time until inflation will come down. And if we look, friends, at the inflation, what happened every time when inflation was high? Well, friends, for example, last time, I think actually we are in a situation right now not so unlike what happened in the late 60s and 70s, okay? In the 60s to 70s, we had a long time when we actually just went sideways, okay? It went sideways with multiple corrections, but it was not a huge crash. It was just a long sideways area with a few dumps in between, okay? These were some dumps here in between, but it was just a long time when the stock market went sideways. So what do we see here? Every time when inflation was high, there was a low in the stock market, okay? Every time. And as soon as inflation started coming down, every time when inflation came down, the stock market started going up again. So if peak inflation really is behind us, it is not so unrealistic, friends, think about it, to assume that if now this curve rolls over here, it is not so unrealistic to assume that the S&P 500 and the stock market in general will actually continue going up again, and we could actually go directly from here and make new all-time highs. Keep this in mind, that is insane. So if we look at the total crypto market cap, consequently, because Ethereum started pumping now, it looks much more bullish, and it actually did break out of this ridiculous bearish wedge structure, and it looks as if it would go and recover quite nicely. So the question is, of course, now, friends, the question remains as in the beginning: will this whole thing here just turn out to be a huge Elliott wave, 5-wave structure, and this whole thing has just been a wave 4 correction, an expanded flat in a wave 4 correction, okay? And that we now go directly from here to new all-time highs? Will this be the case? Or will we just retrace, and I see this here as the very strong resistance area, and then actually turn around and fall lower? Well, friends, nobody knows, okay? We will have to watch the stock market. We will have to keep a sharp eye out on the stock market, out on what the Fed is doing, out on the fundamentals of the stock market, spot any possible bearish divergences in the stock market, in the crypto market, so that we can understand if this is a dead cat bounce and we will go lower, or if this is our, of course, preferred scenario and that we will actually go to new all-time highs directly from here. Okay, so apparently my ranting about Bitcoin helped a bit. Bitcoin has started pumping a bit. Wow, Bitcoin! Wow! Impressive! If you make it through 23,000, I will be very happy, and that would be very nice, Bitcoin. Please go through 23,000. Now, interestingly, if we look at the altcoin market without Ethereum, so total 3, let's just zoom out, okay? This is the total market cap without Bitcoin and without Ethereum. What do we see? We see a huge jump took place here, okay? Bam! And actually it went through this resistance line and broke through this resistance line here. The candle immediately jumped upwards. So this is quite nice, quite a bullish behavior. And we already went through this resistance here. So now if Bitcoin also breaks through resistance, we could actually really at least see a nice pump before we could go lower, and we shall see here. We must keep a keen eye on the market, on the stock market, on everything, so that we can understand if it will go lower here or if indeed it will go directly to new all-time highs. That will be the very big and important question that we are going to try to solve in the next weeks. And for that, we will have to keep track of many different indicators in the stock market: 2-year, 5-year government bond yields, the commodities, will the Fed pivot, how is inflation developing, is inflation coming down, is peak inflation behind us, are bearish divergences forming in the crypto market, in the stock market, how is the dollar looking, is the dollar still pumping, is it coming down? All these things we will have to track, but that is why I'm doing this channel here, why I'm doing these videos, for the reason that we can understand the crypto market and what is going to happen. Let's hope that Bitcoin will break through the 23,000 resistance, because then we would certainly go with Bitcoin to over 30,000, and that could mean that we would get at least a nice rally of Ethereum, of many other altcoins for quite a while, for at least the next 6 to 8 weeks. After that, we will have to see if we are reversing and going down, or if we are going to continue. Thanks for watching, friends. Have a nice day, and see you in the next crypto video. And see you in the next video. Ciao!